Once again, in some sense, I'm deeply embarrassed, but I wouldn't say symbolism dictates, but it suggests heavily. So, in the background, I have me playing the guitar back in the late 90s. It's on my old Windows 95 computer. Anyway, this image that I've animated, done a color filter animation on, is rather poignant. And in this case, like so often, we have the two triangles making up the Star of David, where the centers of the quote-unquote the quote-unquote right side up and upside down triangles are centered on their respective centers. This image is more along the lines of triangles centered upon the center of their heights versus their centers. And the center of the height of a triangle is not the same as the center of the center of the triangle. Center of the triangle being 2/3 or 1/3 the height, depending on which way you're counting from. But this image to me is very important, and different points in time align with this image for me. Like, basically, time is screaming at me for this image, both from the things that have happened in time and the things that I've imagined in twilight and deep sleep. Essentially, this is super embarrassing, but man, it's all those super embarrassing things that we don't talk about that have everything to do with everything, and like, oh boy. The last erotic dream I had was about basically this image. This image in motion, but basically this image. And then when we talk about erotic, like, do I really mean erotic? Do I mean arrows? I know Pascal, there's some gibberish out there about Pascal and Eros versus Thanatos, and then it means, in Thanatos, what little I looked into had to do with, like, death, the right type of death, but then dying to the flesh, and what does that mean? And what does that mean in connection with Eros? And what does Eros mean in connection with love? Oh boy. But it's a Pascalian image in so much as it's triangular. So that connects with the Pascal triangle. And to me, Pascal, it's just Pascal's Pensées. It's one of my favorite books. I've never read it all the way through. I think I've read all the parts of it, but it just, a few lines, a few pages, and I'm gone. But I have listened to the audiobook all the way through. What's up? What's up? And like, I've read it before, like a critique of Pascal, that, basically he was too Catholic. That may or may, or Christian or religious or whatever, and that may or may not be true, but the entire text, I mean, the lines between the lines between the lines, and like, you don't even gotta go several lines between the lines, like right at the base of the line, or almost like in between the line, not even in between the lines, like in the lines, like the whole entire text is like one cry, one massive scream, one massive like hello to the mysteries. You know, when Pascal is very close to Pascal, Pascal Pascal and Pascal Paschal, which is like connected with the Catholic mysteries, the Paschal mystery. And there's a lot to that, and 99.9 repeating percent of it I don't know, but I know the name, and it has much to do with the Lamb, and in my mind, it connects with Saint Agnes. Saint Agnes.
His temper, paranoia, and downright aggression spell trouble to those closest to him.
Which Valentine's Day ought to be renamed for Saint Agnes Day. And yeah, it has to do with the Lamb. So, this whole image, as I referred to the difference between centering upon the triangle center and centering upon its height, they're actually related depending on how you look at this object, and I don't know what it's called, but it seems as though it has a lot to do with magnetism. But in this, you get like some sort of marriage between the icosahedral or the isometric, icosahedral and the Cartesian grids. And this grid seems to have a little bit more to do with things. And with Pascal, we're dealing with probability and statistics. And I understand that he created that. But then that has to do with random information. And it's like probability and statistics, it seems to make sense of random information in the way that we normally say the word random. But I think random means something different than what we think it means. And I think what his mathematics does is bring harmony in so much as like oscillational resolutionism. Like, he brings harmony to what only appears disharmonious, but which is harmonic. So it's like an atemporal or an aspatial way of bringing temporality and spatiality into something which is oscillationally off kilter, but not in oscillation, or not de-oscillational, or not iroscillational. And the whole idea of Pascal's wager and all that kind of thing about basically, I mean, it boils down to like better off believing than not, because what's the harm, one way or the other. But I don't think that's what he believed. I think that was just a clever rhetorical device to persuade people to believe in something bigger than themselves. I think Pascal was just, oh boy, and you can't get away from Pascal without, I mean, all of Nietzsche is wrapped up in Pascal, the whole entire framework of the structure of his prose. There's also, the other one I noticed is EMC Rand, somewhat to an extent R.D. Lang, but R.D. Lang kind of goes off in other directions too. But I guess it's Nietzschean, but a little less Pascalian, in so much as like Nietzschean Dustbolt Zarathustra is a little less Pascalian, at least Poncean. I'm really sorry for using these words and name dropping. I don't know stuff, but I know what resonates with me. And this is the shit that resonates with me. And I would have never got into Pascal and Nietzsche if it weren't for Milan Kundera, and I would have never got into him if it weren't for like a dude I went to school with, and it never would have resonated with me if I wasn't into some other shit at the same time, you know? And then like Nietzsche got me into Schopenhauer, and then it's all like will and will to power. What power? And then another thing with this whole deal is with Pascal versus Descartes is Plaid versus Argyle, and yeah, Plaid versus Argyle. That's huge, huge. And then when it comes into Descartes, that comes into Pythagoras. So then you're dealing with squares and all that kind of thing. But Pythagoras, that has to do with Garfield, like that President Garfield dude who got assassinated, came up with a new proof of the Pythagorean theorem, and Garfield is the name of a big-time cartoon, you know, and the big-time cartoon Garfield, one of his favorite sayings is "Arg," and it's all over the place. And he hates the dog named Odie, and Odie means I hate. I mean, you just can't get away from this shit.
Hyperbole is a type of circle turned inside out. In this type of graphical presentation, you have two cones for the hyperbola, but ultimately you need two cones for the circle too, that this guy didn't do it in the book. Because in any kind of automating curve, the circular function is one way that turns clockwise and one way that turns counterclockwise. It comes from forward design, I'm going backwards design.
Also here, it looks a little like Maltese Falcon, a little bit of like a Silverhawk. Silverhawk, the cartoon made by the same people who made Thundercats. So I'm dating myself big time, but... And then Silverhawk, silver ratio. But this seems in some way to evade silver ratio, but not really, because it's dealing with the whole 3s and 4s, and this image once again. And it seems in some way to evade 5. Guess that's enough on that for now. Late 90s, whoa. Trying to make sense. Just trying to make sense.